Welcome to Spiritual Chat. If you're watching this on YouTube later, I'm on TikTok right now, and I am doing a live, so I'll be talking to people in the comments. So that is who I'm speaking to. This one is going to be a little bit more relaxed than the other type of workshops that I do. I wanted to come on and share some things that I learned in my day today. I had a lot of lessons that I learned, and so I thought it might be beneficial for other people. Also, me and a friend were talking about how as healers, like we do that professionally, that we feel that it's necessary to come on, or not necessary, but we want to come on and be vulnerable in front of people and like show people like, hey, there are a lot of people that are going through these things right now. Everybody, like literally everybody. And sometimes like if you're a healer or like a spiritualist, we don't always like show those parts of ourselves because we feel like pressured to like keep it together, if that makes sense. But we all going through it. Like all of us are experiencing these wild energies right now. So I'm going to share a couple of fun stories, and then I would love to answer questions and comments as I go along, or if you want to share, I will read them as well. Okay, so I have some notes here so it keeps me on track. I know I said it's not super structured, but for my brain I have to have notes because I have ADHD. Okay, so I went to the chiropractor today. I went and I haven't been in like 15 years. It's been like a really long time, so I was very excited because your girl will be crunchy in her back, okay? So I went and I was nervous, like sitting in the doctor's office because doctors make me nervous. And so I started to kind of get like in a funky mood. And I was like, what can I do while I'm waiting for this doctor to kind of help me get out of this like vibe, right? And so me and my friend Ray, everybody should go check her out. Good Day with Ray. She's awesome. My partner, my business partner. Okay, so we were talking about how, yes, I finally caught you. The difference is making me miss your lives. If it's in the morning. Oh, good, Mitzi. Well, good. I'm going to start doing some later in the evening. So I'm glad you're here. Okay, so we were talking about the universal algorithm and how whatever you put out into the universe is what you get more of, and like vice versa, right? And we were talking about vision boards and how TikTok, how much we love TikTok because it's so specific. It's like the universe is sending you divine messages through your For You page. Like, has anybody else experienced that in here where you're just like, the universe is clearly trying to get my attention or tell me something? Okay. And we were talking about how we could use that for our benefit. And so, and I'm gonna, yes. Okay, Billy said yes. It's like the universe is like, you gonna get these messages. Okay. So we're like, well, let's utilize this. So I'm going to give you an example of me in the past. So I used to be very anxious and very depressed, like real deep in the darkness holes. Okay. And I was watching a lot of content about anxiety and depression. And it was like people that had anxiety and depression. And it was very validating because I was like, oh, I'm not the only person going through this. Like, that's great. Right. And so that helped me heal. But then I hit a point where it was keeping me in that frequency and that vibration. Like it was great at first, and then like the more I watched it, the more like I just got that mirrored outside of my outer reality. And this is before I even like got into like real deep into spirituality, okay? And so I was like, I have to stop watching this. Like, I have to start watching content creators that give me tools to get out of this. And so that's what I did. I started watching like tons of psychology and like all types of like resources of like how to get out of that vibration, right? And so I had to, I'm not doing readings in this one, I'm doing just chatting with everybody, but if you would like one, there's a link in my bio for that. So I had to reach for a higher frequency, right? Like, let's get out of this. And so I used my social media algorithm to switch my frequency over, right? And that's not the only thing that I did. There was a lot of other things, but that was like a contributing factor. And so we were talking about how we can do that now with the TikTok algorithm, is whatever you want to bring into your reality, like use TikTok or whatever you use. TikTok's really good at this to like make a living, breathing vision board. Like, search whatever it is that you want to bring into your reality and follow all those creators or follow those pages or that content, and then it'll start to fill up your For You page, right? And then it'll start to get mirrored outside of you. Like, I tell people, if you want a new car, right? And let's say that you want a blue car, and you're thinking about blue cars, and then you go out and then you see blue cars everywhere. That's because, like, your internal scape is getting mirrored outside of you. Like, you're picking up on the stuff outside of you. Hey Oriana. Here in the comments, Ride the Light Designs is my friend Oriana. Everybody should follow her. She's amazing. She has this great business where she makes like handcrafted jewelry, like infused with her energy, like energy healing jewelry, and it's beautiful. She works with Mama Gaia. Okay, this live is duplicated for me. The next live is the same here. Oh, okay. I'm not sure what's going on there, but so whatever you want to bring in, start pulling it in through your algorithm. And so this morning, back to what I was saying, this morning I was at the chiropractor, and I was, kind of like in a lower vibe because I was nervous and my central nervous system was like getting activated. I was getting really stressed out. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. And so like I started looking up like mansions, the beach, going to Australia, like all these things that I like have on my mental vision board. I was searching them through the algorithm, and then I felt so much better. Like, I felt great. I was like, I'm pumped for the day, like, let's do this. And like, it really helped me with my nerves when I was there. And like, when we're watching stuff on TikTok, what's happening is you are getting like so many different things. Like, some things are really happy, and then some things are really sad, and like that's okay because that's life, right? Like, life isn't always like happy rainbow unicorns all the time, right? But your frequency is going like up and down, up and down, and up and down, and up and down. And sometimes it's more difficult to like ride that abundance and prosperity wave, or whatever frequency that you're wanting to feel, like joy, happiness, serenity, right? That's a lot of times like why we go to social media, is to get that dopamine and serotonin to make us feel better. Okay, but that's not what ends up happening. What ends up happening is like we all over the place with our social media. And so like if you, it's life. Like, life is up and down, right? And so whatever you want to bring into your reality though, like actively search that out in the algorithm and start filling your pages with it. And then I noticed something else. So I'm watching all this abundance and prosperity and like millionaire mindset and mansions and like going to Australia and traveling and all this stuff, right? Then I look in the comments, and I'm reading the comments, and all the people are like, that must be nice, that could never be me, I don't have enough money for that, and like all this like super negativity, like as soon as you open the comments. And my frequency was like down again, right? Even though I was looking at this really cool, fun content. And so I was like, okay, we're not doing that. We're not going to look at the comments. I'm literally going to use this active vision board here. And so like I went back to looking at the content, and then I felt great again. Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. And so whatever you want to bring into your reality, use your algorithm. It will fill up your For You page, and you can use it as a living, breathing way to bring those things into your reality. I'll give you an example. So a day or two ago, I went to this like really nice neighborhood in my town. Like, nice. Okay, and I'm driving around and I'm listening to like these prosperity and abundance like songs, like this artist that I like, and I was like vibing, right, like really high. And then I'm messaging my friends like voice noting her, and I pull up to this house, and the house looks exactly like the one that I have been envisioning and like manifesting for the last like 4 or 5 years. Like, exactly like it. Like, the one that I imagine has palm trees in the front of it, even though I don't live somewhere near palm trees, right? This house had a palm tree in front of it. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is my house. And it's because I had lifted my frequency up and have been like looking at stuff through my algorithm, and like, you know what I mean? Like, you can literally bring that stuff to you. And then I voice noted her, and I was like, I drove up to my home, I'm here. I just drove through my neighborhood. It's so nice. Like, I love all my neighbors. Like, nature is so nice outside. Like, I was living and breathing that experience, and like the universe literally like brought it to me. Oh yes, I am burning incense, if that's what you're looking at over here on the side. But that's a really neat way that we have found to bring things more quickly in, and to not have like those ups and downs and like those really highs and lows. Yeah, it's a cloud of smoke along with the clouds back here. So anyway, so I'm at the chiropractor. This is gonna be all over the place. It's spiritual chat, okay? Also, let me know if anybody else does that, if you're using your algorithm that way. It's something like recently new I've like really started utilizing a lot more. Okay, so what did I put on here? Okay, so oh, you definitely use it. Yes, we love that. Okay, so I have to turn. Okay, so at the chiropractor, I was talking to him, and he was like taking x-rays of my back, and he was like, come look at this. And I said, okay. And he was like, you are like way overcompensating with your back. Like, like your shoulders are like way out here, right? And I was like, oh, what? And then like I was standing and I was like, oh, you're right. Like, I'm holding my shoulders like way back. And he was like, you're causing, you know, like your back to go this way and your stomach to come out this way. And it's causing some like disjointedness. And I was like, why am I doing that? And I realized that when I was younger, my grandfather had told me like, you have to have good posture. And like anytime he saw me and my sister like kind of slouching, he was like, you need to sit up. Like, it was like a constant thing, right? Like, that was like imbued into like the deep recesses of my brain. And I watched all this content on, you know, YouTube or whatever while I was working on my self-confidence and self-esteem, saying like, you got it, your posture like really makes a difference in how you carry yourself. And so like subconsciously, my shoulders like go way far back, and it was like messing up my back. Excuse me. And so like I wanted to share that because like sometimes we have things that are like really deep in our subconscious that we're not even aware of until somebody points it out. And like you never know like the impact that those things make on you. Pelvic inversion, my grandma used to pinch us on our back to stand up straight. Yeah, it was it was like constant reminder from my grandparents. Billy, I have been telling the kids about our new house, and we'll talk about the amazing things that we have in it, and we get excited about it and been talking about it daily. Yes, live and breathe the experience. Like the emotions. I'm so happy you're doing that. Okay, so another one, I started asking myself why, right? Like when we have like these behaviors that we're doing, like if you ask yourself why you're doing it, sometimes you can get to the root of it. So I get home, and I was watching somebody on TikTok that was like directly staring into the camera at me, right? And I do that to people. Like I will have a conversation with somebody and I will like stare into your soul and like not break eye contact. Like I will literally like look at you the whole entire time, and it makes people uncomfortable sometimes. And I have realized that was because my grandfather told me you have to make eye contact with people if you want to be respected and if you want people to listen to you. And so like that went way back in my recesses, and now like I have to be consciously aware that when I'm having conversations with people, like not to do that because it makes them very uncomfortable. But it's something I have to work at to like not battle against, but to like course correct because I'll just be staring at people so intensely. And the thing about that is really funny is when people do that to me, it makes me very uncomfortable. Like when you're like just staring straight through. And so anyway, I wanted to share that because like we have all these like learned behaviors that are way back there, and we have to ask ourselves like why. And now that Oriana's in here, that reminds me, I'll share another story. My son, 2 days ago, I freak people when I get too close. I don't get close to people, but I'll stare at you like through your soul across the room. Like if you're talking to me or whatever. Okay, and I have blue eyes, and sometimes that freaks people out when you're staring at them. So my son, 2 days ago, we're like getting ready for school, and he's like talking about something, and he's like, I swear to God. And I was like, oh my God, don't say that. Even though I said, oh my God, right? I'm like, don't say that. You can't swear to God like that. Don't do that. And I, you know, I keep saying this to him like over and over and over again. And this time was different. He was like, why? Why can't I see that? Or why can't I say that? He was like, what's the big deal? And something about that was like, oh, I don't know why. Like, why is that? Like, why can't you say that? And I was thinking about it, and it's because I grew up in a very religious household. Like, my grandfather was a preacher that raised me, and that was blasphemous. Like, you would never, ever say that. Right? Like, no. And, like, I don't really care that much, to be honest. Like, it doesn't go against my, like, values and beliefs, but it's, like, that very deep programming that tells me that's evil, right? Because I didn't have an answer for him. I was like, I don't know. Like, it's just always been like that. And like, even when he still says it, like he said it like yesterday, like after we had out of that conversation, like when he says it, like I can feel my body like tensing up and being like, ugh, but I have to like override that programming because it's really not that big of a deal. Yeah, I was always told, don't swear to God. Yeah, I mean, like, if you really break it down, like, just energetically, like, whatever, like, it's really not that big of a deal. I have been going through a bunch of similar revelations. Hearing this makes me feel so much better. Oh, good. That's why I wanted to come on and share my stories from today, because I figured it would help somebody if I'm going through it, too. But, yeah, ask yourself why you do these things. Like, there's a root to them. And then when you find the root, it's like, oh, I can let that go. Like, I was messing my back up, right? Like, by what I had been told that it was supposedly, like, positive. Is that overcorrection? Okay, so, let me spray my hands here. Why did I write that? I wrote some notes, and I can't remember why I wrote that about Abraham Hicks. Oh, I remember. Okay. Okay. So I have been like working on money mindset, and I'm not going to go like so super far into that. It's always been interesting how our central nervous system holds on to things. Yep. Like when he says swear to God, I'm just like, like my whole body tenses up. But it's like what my grandparents were saying to me that made me like get into that mode. Okay. So Abraham Hicks, I have been working on money mindset. Like, always working on it because I grew up in a lot of, like, lack mentality, right? And so I started to listen to the stuff again this morning, and I was like, hold on, we don't need to do that. Like, shadow work is so important, especially if you have, like, blocks, like, and not even blocks, like, trauma, right? I have worked through, like, an immense amount of trauma. Like, a bunch of trauma with like money mindset, and now it's at a precipice point where I'm listening to money mindset stuff and it's hurting me because it's keeping me in like thinking I have blocks when I don't, if that makes sense. And so I was listening to Abraham Hicks, and she was like, you don't have anything to do, like you're good. Like, I don't know if anybody likes Abraham Hicks, but it's like you do all the shadow work, and then at some point it's like, we did that, now you need to be in receiving mode. Like, I'm ready to receive everything that I worked for. Right, so it's like a frequency shift. So I was listening to this money mindset stuff, and my body literally started to like tense up, even though like it's positive stuff that served and helped me in the past. I was listening to it, and my body was like, no, we're not doing that. And so I was like, oh, you know what? Who is really good about receiving mode? And I was like, Abraham Hicks. And so I put on Abraham Hicks, and she started talking about like, you're exactly where you need to be. You've done the work. Let's get into receiving mode. Like, that's all we need to do is say, I'm ready to receive. And instantly, like, I could feel my body like release all that stress, right? So like, we're going to get back to this in a second, but like your body is your compass. Like your feelings and emotions, like the physical way that your body feels about something. A lot of times we think it's up here in the mind. It's literally how your body reacts to something. It's your compass. It's your intuition trying to talk to you. And so like me with my body tensing up on that money mindset stuff was like, that is not in alignment with us anymore. And then I started listening to Abraham Hicks that said we're in receiving mode. I felt great, and I was like, okay, body, obviously you're trying to tell me something, right? We're not in that frequency anymore. That's why we're getting that like grating against feeling. And so like if you, and I tell people that like when you're trying to work with your intuition or like listen to it, if you're having a thought about something, a person, an experience, hey Carolina, a person, an experience, like whatever it is, and your body starts to tense up and you start to like contract, like that is your body saying that's not in alignment with us. But if you feel expansive and like you feel bright and joyful and you're like, oh, that sounds really good, even if it's something that makes you a little nervous, right? Like the chiropractor this morning, right? That made me a little nervous, but it made me feel like, oh, I'm gonna feel so much better. Like that's your soul trying to say like, that's in alignment with us, right? And so like your physical body is your compass. Right, I already said that, your channel. Your physical body is your channel. A lot of times people think that we're channeling things from the ethers, from the astral, from our higher self, like in your mindscape. Your physical body is the channel. Like when I work with spirit guides or I'm doing readings with people, like my body tells me everything before I know what's going on, like in my mind. Like when you start working on that level and like really listening to your body, your physical body, like it is your guide to your soul plan, to your soul desires, to like your manifestations, right? And so like if I had not listened to my body, and we're going to talk about how I didn't do that today and what happened, if you're not listening to your body about something, like that's when things start to like get wonky and go downhill. So we'll talk about that. So I am putting together a website. Like I already have a website. It's great, but I want a better website. Like I want a more streamlined website because like it's want things to look more cohesive. Finally made it on TikTok and not YouTube. Oh, glad to have you here. And yes, we love Abraham. So I want a more streamlined website. Okay. This has been stressing me out so much, like stress to the max. And it's because I do not have a background in marketing. I am not a website designer. Like this is not my area of expertise. I am like writing. I'm not gonna down myself, right? But like writing isn't my strongest skill set. Like talking is, like lots of other things, but writing is not the best. Okay. I'm glad that you like it. Thank you. Very calming. So like I said, it's been stressing me out. I've been putting it off, like procrastinating on it forever, right? Because it really makes my anxiety go up and it makes my central nervous system kick on and like get in fight or flight, right? And so today after the chiropractor, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be nice and relaxed. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna work on my website for a couple hours and it's gonna be great. I feel the same about my business, and that's why it's failing. Well, we're gonna talk about what happened today, so maybe this will help. So I get home and I start looking up stuff about websites and I get super frustrated. Like I spent 2.5 hours looking at website stuff and nothing, like I didn't do anything. And I started to like really beat up on myself and be like, you just wasted like 2.5 hours. Like you could have been doing all this other stuff, right? And like the whole time I was like Googling all this website stuff, my body was like in fight or flight mode and was trying to tell me like, stop, like you need to stop. Like this is not beneficial. And I wasn't listening to my higher self. My higher self was like, hey, let's go do something else. We're not in the right vibration for this. We're not in the right frequency. We have now stressed ourselves out and now all this cortisol is running through our body. And I was like, I don't want to hear that. So I just keep pushing through, right? And so now like I'm going down these like rabbit holes of like, you can't even put a basic website together. You spend 3 hours not doing anything. Productivity. And that's part of like the capitalism society, like telling us we have to be productive 24/7, right? And like there's a lot of other back end stuff there. Like I was feeling unworthy, because it's like, well, if you don't have a good website, then you're not going to have quality, like, or you're not going to have enough people coming in. Like, people are not going to understand what you're doing. They're not going to like what you're doing. They're going to think you're incompetent, like all this stuff, right? So that's my ego talking. My higher self is like, we already have a website, it's fine. Like, we figured that out and we've been very successful. Why are you freaking out? But like, it was that we're failing in life. Right? And like, my higher self is trying to say, like, we're not going to crumble because of this website. And I was like, yes, we are. At that point, it's partially and or fully the ego talking. Like, I do want to stipulate that the ego is not a bad thing. Like, I'm not trying to bash on my ego because it's trying to keep me safe. And like, it's just trying to keep me on track. But like, I was letting it talk to, I was letting my ego get in the driver's seat instead of the passenger seat. Okay, and then I just started going like way downhill, and my higher self was like, let's take a break. And so I was gonna say, oh, okay, so I was like, you know what, we're gonna stop. I literally have to stop right now. So I went and did some other stuff, took a breath, and I was like, okay, we're okay. And then, like, sometimes when we have feelings like sadness come up, we want to push them down and push them away and be like, I'll deal with that later, right? And I went and sat down and I was like, I'm sad. Like, I am really sad. Like, I feel unworthy right now. I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like this is going to take me a year to figure out. Like, I really just sat and dissected how I was feeling. And I was like, you know what? It's okay to be sad. I'm going to be sad right now. I'm going to be upset, and it is what it is. And I just sat with that for like 5 minutes. And then afterwards, like I said, I see you, sadness. Like, I see you. We're going to be sad together right now. And then like 5 minutes later, I felt fine. Like, sadness was trying to come up and show me these things so that I could go, like, evolve through them. Right? But if I stuff them down, they're just going to keep coming up and I'm going to keep spiraling. But when I sat there and I looked at it and I was like, okay, like, let's feel this stuff right now because it's coming up for a reason. And then I was fine. Absolutely fine. And then I took a breath. I went and did something else. I let my body calm down, got back on my computer to look at the website, and guess what happened? I found a YouTube video. It was like 10 minutes long and it was perfect. It was the perfect video. But I had to get away and take a breath. And then I figured out that the reason that I was getting so stressed out and then nothing was working is because all of the websites that I was looking at were overcomplicated. Like, there was just too much stuff. Right? And I was trying to force my body to do something that was out of alignment with me. Like, I'm a very minimalist person. Like, if you come to my house, very minimalist. Closet, clothes, very minimalist. Right? And I was trying to push myself into a box that wasn't meant for me. And so that's why my body was like, I don't know what you're doing. We're not going to do this. It's not going to work for us in the long term. And you just sitting here stressing yourself out for no reason. And then I go, like, take a breath and sit with my sadness for a minute. And then I come back and I find a minimalist website. And this man literally explained how to set it up in like 10 minutes. And I was like, like, I literally put myself through like 3 hours of like nonsense. Where if I had listened to my higher self when she was saying like, hey, let's go take a break, we could avoid all that. Right? And like, that's what our higher self is trying to do. I tell people, like, this is your higher self up here on top of the mountain. They can see like everything you're going through on your journey. Through the mountain, through the trees, through the waterfalls, through the crevasses. Okay? But you can't see that. And they're like, hey, why don't you do this? Or hey, why don't you do that? Or why don't you do this? Like, and I'm like, I don't want to hear that. And so I just went on this long journey for no reason. And it was for a reason. Because like I needed to see that for future me. Like, hey, you remember when we did that with that website? let's not do that again. Okay. But you know, in this life, we can just go through these things, learn and grow and evolve. But I don't want to share that for anybody. Like, if you are spiraling, like super spiraling, right? I was like way deep in that spiral. I was like, you're a piece of, because you can't figure this out. Right? Like, that's not benefiting anybody. It's not benefiting me. It's not benefiting my like future clients. It's especially not benefiting future clients, because if I'm building a website about self-help and mental health and like healing, and I'm building it in a vibration and a frequency of like anger and frustration, like that's not going to come across well in this website. And so like sometimes we just gotta take a breath and step away from the thing and then come back to it. You're in the car viewing the scenery, and next thing you know, you're in the scenery looking at the road. That's exactly right, Carolina, like the video you sent me. Well, you could if you have. Okay, so we talked about feeling your emotions. Totally had a spiral squad moment. Nice when you can see the lesson. Yeah. So after I had that whole like freak out, I was trying to put that website together again. I was like, oh, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm in a better mood right now. I'm going to spend some time with myself now, like integrating this lesson and like come back to this. Like, it's not a life or death situation. And that's what my ego was trying to say. Like, if you don't put this website together right now, your business is going to fail. Right? And that's just not true. And so like I had to override again and say like, I'm not going to do this website right now. Like, even though I figured out which one I want to do, we're going to give it time to breathe. And so I went and did some stretching. Like, stretching is a great way, like, if you take anything away from this, like, stretching is such an amazing way to get stress and cortisol out of your body. Like, stress and cortisol, like, all those hormones don't just exit your body. Okay, like, you have to do something that, like, either stretches your muscles and releases that stuff, or you have to get your heart rate up. And when you do it, like, you feel so much better afterwards. So anyway, so I did like a 30-minute stretching video, and like the whole time my ego is trying to make me think about this website, and I was like, I'm not thinking about that right now. Right, like I'm literally not gonna do that. And so like I had to keep overriding and say like, this is me time, this is self-care time, we're not worrying about the external world right now, we're literally chilling. Okay. And I looked up at the screen at the yoga instructor, and she had this really amazing like tapestry up on the background. And I was like, I wonder who that is. And I thought it was Kuan Yin at first, because I could only see like the bottom half of it, and I could hear like, you need to have compassion with yourself. You know, I was like, thanks, Kuan Yin. Turns out it was Lakshmi. And if anybody's familiar with Lakshmi, the goddess, she's a goddess of prosperity and wealth and abundance and beauty and like all these wonderful things. And I was like, oh my gosh, of course she would be in this video, because I'm taking time for self and self-care and letting go. And that's abundance and prosperity. Like, that's how you bring it up. Right? So full circle, back to Abraham Hicks. I'm so glad I listened to her this morning, because when I was doing the stretching, I was thinking abundance and prosperity, like, hold on one second. Okay. Abundance and prosperity does not come in when you were trying to force things. And like when you're trying to make things happen. Like, that is the consciousness that we are coming out of. Like that hustle grind energy, right, of the past. That is like keeping everybody this capitalistic like chokehold, right? It was like, if you take a breath and you go stretch and you drop into your consciousness and like take a second to yourself and like listen to your higher self, like things run so much more smoothly. And like people are always trying to like manifest in the 3D plane, which sometimes it's like hard to do that because it's very dense. And like Abraham Hicks talks about, you can do, and like Joe Dispenza, like all these beautiful teachers, like you can do so much through the ethers, like so much through the ethers. Like, my website is a very 3D thing, right? Like, very 3D. And most of my business that I have gotten, like clients, is because they come on my lives or they watch me on social media and they're like, I love your energy. It has nothing to do with my website, like at all. Like literally nothing. It's how my frequency is holding. And like, I have done things in the past of like, I'm going to infuse all of my social media that I have made in the past with my now current frequency. And then I get business all of a sudden. Has literally nothing to do with my website. But my ego was saying like, this is the only way that you are going to get more clients and that you're going to be prosperous and abundant and make more money is if you have this pristine website. When in reality, it literally has nothing to do with that. And I'm not saying that your website's not important if you're in here and you have a business, but like, you raising your frequency up and staying in that vibration sends things out into the unifying field, and you attract people that way because now you're on the same frequency wavelength as somebody that you want to work with. Like, like working on that level is like way different and gives you so much energy and aligns you with exactly who you're supposed to be working with. Like, all like 90% of my people that I have worked with is because they have come into my life or seen social media and they're like, I love your energy. I have literally only a handful of times that had somebody be like, oh, I found you through your website. They're like, I watched this video about you talking about this. And when they watched it, it's because when I made that, my frequency was really high, right? And so if I'm over here making a website, like a tangible 3D thing, and I'm making it in anger and frustration, when people enter into that space, they're going to feel that. And I've made content like that before. Like, I've made content where I was forcing myself, and I wasn't like, I'm not saying you have to be high vibe to make content, okay? But like, when I was forcing something, and like I don't get clients from that, or I don't get good feedback, right? Like, there's so much of a difference of just like letting go and just making things like whenever you want to make them and whatever vibration that you're in. Like, you do alignment with what you want to manifest. Yes. Like, if people step into my website and it's literally holding that vibration in which I made it within of anger and frustration, like, that's not going to align with anybody. And that's what my higher self was trying to say. Like, first of all, none of these websites are you. Like, you're trying to box yourself in from somebody else's stuff that you've seen, like playing a comparison game. Like, let's take a breath, stop, right? Drop into yourself. Remember, this is about energy and like getting in a good vibration when you're doing this. And like, my mind was trying to trick me and say like, no, you're procrastinating. You're procrastinating, right? And it's tricky. And I wasn't procrastinating. It was that I was trying to do something that was out of alignment with me. And my body was like, you suck. You can't do anything. Like, you're gonna fail. And I was listening to that. And this is like, sometimes you have to override your ego. Like, you have to say, get in the passenger seat. Like, we want the ego on the ride with us. Like, we're driving, right? We want the ego in the car. Like, the ego is what tells us there's like stop signs and the red lights and like, oh, here's a bicycle person over here. Like, they're literally giving you warnings about things keeping you safe, but they don't need to be here driving the consciousness car. They need to be over here giving you a little feedback every now and then, but like, the higher self is at the wheel. All right. Yes, tell scared inner child it's okay instead of feeding its fear. Yeah, that was me too. Like, today, my inner child, like, and I don't even say inner child, but like teenage self, like, I have, things from when I was younger about worthiness and abandonment that I'm still working through. And that's what was happening here. It was like all of your clients are going to abandon you. They're going to think, like, whatever, if it's not perfect. This is literally not true. Like, and that's what my higher self is trying to tell me. Like, you already have a website. You figured it out. It's great. It's been successful. Yeah, we can have a better one. Sure. But, like, it's not going to destroy us if we don't have it done today. You've helped me so much, and I love and appreciate you. Oh, you're so welcome. I'm glad that it resonates. The way you explain it reminds me of the movie Inside Out. I need to watch that movie again. I love that movie so much. Maybe I'll do that this evening. You're so aware of it. That's amazing. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's trial and error. Like doing it over and over and over again. It gets easier. Like when I spiral like that now, like that would have been like a month. Like just weeks of spiraling out of control with my thoughts. Like I had very, very overwhelming ruminating thoughts. Now it was 3 hours today. Okay. Sometimes it's like easier than others. Like sometimes it's an all day, sometimes it's 3 hours, sometimes it's 30 minutes. I feel you. I used to be like that too. Oh, glad to see that you're not in that space anymore. Oh, hey, Bryn. Hey. Glad to see you in here. Hello. So the more you do it, the easier it gets. Like even today, like I had that 3 hours where I was spiraling, and then it was okay, and then I started to spiral like a little bit again when I started trying to get back doing that website, and then I was like, oh, we're not doing that. And then I got out of it really quick. And so like don't judge yourself for how long it takes to get out. Like some days I'll have like an all day spiral. I can say when you are spiraling, if you say, okay, I'm spiraling, like that helps so much. Like if you accept yourself for where you're at and just say, it's gonna be a bad day. Like it's just gonna be one of those days where we're sad and like the world feels like it's crumbling and falling out from underneath us. Like, okay. Like sometimes you need to give that to yourself, and like that will get you out of it. Like that's what I did today. Like after like that 3 hours where I literally like my central nervous system was like on fire, and I sat and I was like, okay, let's be sad. Let's be real sad. Like, let's feel the unworthiness. Let's literally feel into that. Okay, like sadness, I'm gonna sit here with you, and I'm gonna let you throw this pity party, and we're gonna be sad. And like after I did this, like sadness felt better. Like it's like a kid that's throwing a tantrum, right? Like sometimes you just gotta let them throw the tantrum. I tell people when you are experiencing these like big feelings, like intense anger, intense sadness, if you like your soul, right, your higher self, if sometimes you take the feeling outside of yourself and you talk to it like, hey sadness, I see you, I see that you're hurting, I see that you're upset, I'm gonna sit here with you and I'm gonna let you feel that, like we're gonna feel it together, and then when you are done feeling that, I'm gonna be here and let's go do something fun, right? Then like you're honoring it, you're saying like, hey, you're seen and you're heard and you're validated and you are worthy of feeling these things, and it's totally okay. And like when you do that, it like releases very instantly. Sometimes more instantly than others. Like sometimes you've been in it for a couple hours, but after that couple hours it's like, okay, we're done with that, now let's go do something else. But if you like shove it down, like that's when you spiral for like a day or days or weeks or whatever. Right? Like that was me in the past too, and I still do that sometimes. Like I'm not above that, but I would be like, we'll just deal with that later. Ain't nobody got time for that. Right? It's gonna come out at some point, and usually it comes out in like a very major way that's very inconvenient, when you could just sit with it for like 30 minutes or a couple hours and then be done with it. Okay, so I'm done with my TED Talk here. I appreciate everybody came to listen. Like I said, I wanted to come on and share some of my personal stories because I think it's important to show like vulnerability, because there's lots of other people that are going through these, and even if it's not the exact same thing, like even if it's not you building a website like it was me today, like there's something in your life, I'm sure, that's going through a similar like cycle. So hopefully it was helpful. I appreciate everybody coming. Thank you, Oriana and Nicole. I appreciate that. And Bryn and Carolina for joining in as always, and Mitzi. This is going to be up on my YouTube channel tomorrow. For those of you who are watching live, what do I have coming up? Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be doing I'm going to be talking about soul contracts on my Patreon. And I'm going to be talking about what are soul contracts, what are karmic relationships, how to release vows or do contract clearing. And also I'm going to be taking everybody through their Akashic records for a soul retrieval gift. So this is like a past version that has something that they want to gift to you in this lifetime. It's you. But from a past life, and they want to gift you with something, so we're going to do that. And then on Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there's a link in my bio. It's Journey to Awakening with Brittany and Ray. It's a free Facebook group. We would love to have you. It's a nice community. There's a lot of people in here that are already in there. But at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be talking about procrastination. I'm doing like a workshop, like a group coaching about procrastination, like why we procrastinate, how to work through that, how to accept ourselves in those spaces. It's awesome to hear your experiences because it also helps us on our journey. I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing. It's nice to be able to feel heard. Have a great evening. Oh, thank you. You too as well. Mitzi, if you're still in here, I have a question for you. Heard in the sense that I can relate and I'm not alone. Great. That's what I wanted everybody to feel in here. Like there's other people going through these things too. Mitzi, did you tell me about the Aurora Borealis the other day in the live? That you wanted to see the lights? If you will let me know. Okay, you said you're here. Was that you that I was talking about with the lights? I'm not doing readings on this one, but if you would like a reading, there's a link in my bio. Okay, Bitsy. So I saved this TikTok of the lights. I'm gonna send it to you because I was like, I'm pretty sure Mitzi told me that. So I'm gonna send you that. It's a really cool TikTok about the lights. So glad you were in here. Shift pain is horrible right now. Yeah, it's really intense. Like really intense. Like timeline shifting right now is like everybody's doing a lot of evolving, like on frequency and consciousness levels. And like all of this like super intense like denseness inside of us is coming up to come out. Like that's us up leveling, and so everybody's feeling like so much intensity because it's going in like really deep. And so like it seems awful and it is awful, like even for me, like I've been going through it for a couple weeks and a lot of other people are. But the beauty of it is that if you are experiencing it on that very intense level, it's because you are about to like really make major shifts in your life. Like big major shifts. Like that stuff has to come up and be felt so you can release it and move to the next stage. So like even me, like I get lost in the sauce. Like with the website things today. Like that was part of my evolution of like, are we gonna keep doing the same things that we've been doing? Like the Brittany that's been living in capitalistic societies and been like way too far deep into her divine masculine hustle grind energy that ain't serving anybody and making us stress out to the max? Or are we gonna let go of that and go do something else and get back in flow and alignment, and then everything work out easy peasy lemon squeezy? right? But I had to experience that to see the contrast of, oh yeah, we don't want to do that anymore. Like, that sucks. Like, let's go do this over here with the, like, the flow and the alignment. Right? Okay, Mitzi, yes, I will send that to you. I hit muscle failure 3 days ago, had to hibernate. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are having to sleep like a lot, because when you are holding more light energy in your body, your physical body has to catch up. Like, your physical body very dense. Okay, and it's literally got to catch up to that amount of light that you're holding, and so like you're going to feel really sleepy. And some people get like ascension flu symptoms, like where you get body aches, muscle aches, like your sinuses start to flare up, like just all this wonky stuff come out of nowhere when you generally feel like really healthy. It's because your body is like getting ready to hold more light in it, and so you gotta rest. That's something I'm having to work on, because I, again, am healing through a lot of that toxic energy. And so like I'll be like, I have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, but like that's very counteractive to what the energy is trying to do for me. It's like, you need to go lay down and take naps, so that when you go like do healings with people or whatever it is I do, right, you're going to be able to access more frequencies. Okay, but like if you keep pushing, you're gonna burn yourself out and then not do anything for like 3 weeks, right? Okay, well, go have fun. I hope you enjoy your dinner, maybe. Depending on where you're at right now, but I hope you enjoy. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna get off now. So I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Again, thank you for coming to listen to me speak. And this will be up on YouTube later tomorrow. All right, bye.